When you close your eyes and think, there is an overwhelming intuition that someone is in there, a distinct inner me, sitting in the cockpit of your skull, looking out through your eyes and pulling the levers of your body. Daniel Dennett called this the Cartesian Theater. He argued that relying on this magical little pilot, a homunculus inside the brain, to explain how the mind works, actually explains nothing at all. Dennett's own history began in Beirut, Lebanon, until his father, a covert intelligence agent, died in a 1947 plane crash. His mother moved the family back to Massachusetts, raising Dennett in a household that emphasized rigorous scholarship and clear intellectual expression. As a child, he spent his time building models and mechanical tinkering. He grew up believing that if something worked, it was because physical pieces fit together in a specific way. There were no hidden ghosts making the gears turn. This mechanical mindset gave him an aggressive intellectual confidence. After reading a book by the philosopher W.V. Quine and deciding the author had made a logical error, Dennett transferred to Harvard University for the explicit purpose of confronting him with the correction. Eventually, Dennett turned that relentless tinkerer's eye toward the greatest machine of all, the human brain. He realized that to understand consciousness, he had to dismantle the Cartesian Theater. His project was to peel back the layers of psychological magic to show that the mind is a biological machine. Dennett's multiple drafts model argues the brain has no central hub where information arrives. The mind is a collection of scattered functional states. Qualia, the subjective feeling of an experience, is an illusion. This stance triggered intense backlash for dismissing first-person experience. John Searle argued that by reducing consciousness to observable processes, Dennett's theory turned human beings into zombies, complex organisms with no genuine inner lives. David Chalmers challenged Dennett for ignoring the hard problem, the mystery of why physical brain functions are accompanied by a subjective raw feel. Dennett countered that the hard problem was a distraction. He maintained that once science explains every physical function in the brain, the mystery will evaporate. Our access to our minds is so limited that we take an intentional stance on ourselves, viewing our own internal states much like we view the minds of other people. But if the mind is a physical machine, it requires an architect. To find one, Dennett looked to a process requiring no mind at all. Dennett's philosophy of biology began with a simple premise. To understand this complex machine, we must look to evolution to see how it was built. He viewed natural selection as an algorithm, a mindless, step-by-step process using simple inputs to generate complex results. Dennett argued this same logic drives cultural evolution, where ideas, or memes, compete for survival in the mind just like genes in the wild. This extreme focus on adaptation put Dennett at the center of a highly publicized debate with the evolutionary biologist Stephen Jay Gould. Gould argued that not every biological trait is an optimized adaptation. He cited spandrels, structural byproducts that exist because they are the necessary leftovers of other evolutionary changes. Dennett saw this as an attempt to downplay the power of natural selection. He accused his critics of refusing to accept evolution as a relentless, algorithmic designer. He believed attempting to minimize natural selection was a subconscious effort to keep magic or divine design in the history of life. In Dennett's view, this mindless, iterative process is responsible for everything, from the design of a wing to the complex architecture of the human mind. If consciousness is a user illusion, and we are the products of mindless algorithms, the existential concern is that we are merely biological robots with no agency. Dennett addressed this through compatibilism. He argued that a deterministic scientific universe is perfectly compatible with meaningful free will. He defined human freedom as a biological capacity, the evolved ability to predict probable futures and make decisions based on internal values without external coercion. This perspective casts moral norms and ethical behaviors as biological adaptations. In Dennett's framework, they are tools developed over eons to enhance cooperative survival within human groups. He used this same logic to challenge religion. In his book, Breaking the Spell, he urged humanity to examine religious belief as a natural phenomenon and to favor a scientifically informed humanism. Because Dennett believed consciousness was a substrate neutral algorithm, he provided much of the philosophical defense for the modern pursuit of artificial intelligence. Dennett spent his career arguing that peeling back the layers of magic doesn't make human existence less significant. For him, the mechanical reality of the world was magnificent enough to provide all the meaning we need.